Okay, in this video we are going to talk about some factorizing techniques, and specifically as it relates to solving a particular equation. So here we have an equation and we need to solve it. So how are we going to solve this? Well, first of all, let's remember something we learned just about basic numbers and factoring. So 9 is made up of a factor of 3 times the same factor of 3. So 3 times 3 makes 9. Or we could take 8 and we could write it as 2 times 4. Well, that's exactly what we're going to try to do with this thing, except it's a polynomial. It's not actually a factor. So we're going to write him as 2 factors here that are going to be equal to 0. Now the first thing we need to recognize is sometimes with a number of 7, for example, the only thing we can do is write it as 7 times 1, and so this wouldn't be profitable for that situation. However, what we are going to be considering right now is what are the factors, 2 different factors. This guy is factorizable. Not all of them are. Since this one's factorizable, let's consider what values could we put in here. Now, in order to do this, I want us to think about 2 values that will, I put a plus there, it should have been a multiplication sign. 2 numbers that will multiply to -4 and will add to minus 3x. So let's come over here for a moment again, and we're thinking about -4. I need 2 numbers that are going to multiply to give me -4. Well, there's 2 ways this could work. I could do -4 times 1, or I could do +4 times -1. Both of those will give me a -4 when I multiply them together. Well, I need the 2 numbers that are going to multiply to -4 and also add to -3. So if I then change this to a plus on both of these, that's going to give me -3, and this is going to give me, that's a negative on the 1 right there. That's going to give me +3. Well, I need the ones that add to -3 here. Well, the ones that added -3 are these 2, -4 and +1. So what that means is I am going to need to have in the back of my brackets a -4 and a +1. And what's going to be in the front of my brackets is whatever is going to make an x squared, and that in fact is going to be x times x. Now, if this is new to you or you're not very comfortable with what I'm doing here, I would recommend coming over here and taking x minus 4 and x plus 1 and actually doing the multiplication to convince yourself that this produces that. The way we do that is x times x is x squared, and x times 1 is 1x, and then we take this -4 and multiply it by x, and -4 and multiply it by 1, and so that yields this guy, which when we simplify him gives us x squared minus 3x minus 4, which is what we began the problem with. That means the 2 factors of this red one are x minus 4 and x plus 1. Now, since the question actually said solve, we need to solve this. You will remember something basic from an earlier math class. It's 3 times 0 equals 0, or 0 times 7 equals 0. So anyway, anytime you have a 0 over here, that means one of these 2 numbers has to be equal to 0. Same thing applies right here. So we can write either x minus 4 has to equal 0, or if it's not that one, x plus 1 has to equal 0. Because we have 2 pieces multiplying equal to 0, one of them must be equal to 0. So now when we solve these 2, we just move the 4 to the other side. Gives us x equals 4. And here we move the +1 to the other side, and it gives us x equals -1. And now I'll leave it to you to confirm that if you take these green 4 and -1 and stick them back in there, you will get, each time, put the 4 there and the 4 there, you'll get 0 equals 0. Then put the -1 there and the -1 there, you'll get 0 equals to 0.